A very warm welcome to Wesley Impact Highlights. As we wrap up our Best of series for 2014, we meet former world champion boxer Nigel Benn. It's one of the best, because back in the day, Nigel was known as the Dart Destroyer. When he was world champion, he nearly killed a man in the ring. A few years on, he tried to take his own life. Now a committed Christian, he says God has helped him to put a trail of private and personal pain behind him. Nigel now calls Australia home, where his time is focused on his family, his faith and his work in mentoring young people in Sydney's West as an ambassador for Police Citizens Youth Club. I hope you enjoy this show. Nigel, it's a delight to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Look, Nigel, you say that fighting was in the blood and that anger was somehow there. What do you really mean by that?
Well, growing up back in the 70s, there's a lot of National Front people, and I always used to fight with all the races, always growing up, and it was hard. And at that time, my brother was killed by racists. I was only 8 years old at the time, and I remember early in the morning, my mum coming in, crying, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. And I didn't understand, I was only 8 years old. And then I found out that my brother was killed by racists. He was pushed through a window, fell through, cut his groin and bled to death. And so from that time I had a lot of anger inside me.
You eventually go into the British Army. How long were you in the Army for?
4 years, 256 days. Army number 24604617, Fusilier Ben, 1st Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers, sir.
Absolutely. So during that time, did that help, or did it kind of reinforce some of that?
No, it helped so much. I mean, if I didn't join the Army, I don't know where I would be today. Spent 3 years in Germany and 18 months in Northern Ireland. I think the Army was what made me what I am today. I had that discipline, I had that determination from the Army. So, yeah, it was the best move I ever done.
And there are other good things that have happened in your life. You go through some of this difficulty that's there, but the professional career will always, and I just wanted to mention this, have this one fight with Gerald McClellan in the story, won't it?
Well, yeah, it was a hard fight, really. It was a guy that was, they were calling him the mini Mike Tyson, and he knocked everybody out. And all the papers from the Daily Mail, the Mirror, the Sun, the Guardian, the Telegraph, everyone had me to lose within 1 to 3 rounds. I mean, hold on a minute. And it's squaddy, you know, if I'm going out on my badge. And I know Don King brought him over here to bash me up and take back the title back to America. But cut a long story short, you know, I came out with after the fight, I came out with a damaged nose, damaged jaw, urinating blood for 3 days in the shadow of my brain. He came out paralysed, blind, 8% deaf in a wheelchair. And then I didn't see him again after about 13 years. And then we was able to raise $250,000 for him.
That's a sad story, but has a good ending to it, at least in doing something. But one of the good things, of course, in your life has got to be meeting Caroline, who shares in so much with you now. And you popped the question originally, to which she did not respond back in the boxing ring in 1996.
Yeah, she don't like me saying this, but she's my knight in shining armour. I proposed to her in the ring. I just got beaten, lost my world title, and but I had this already planned. And I asked her to marry me, but she looked at me because she knew that I was having an affair, and she looked at me and said, "I'm not saying nothing," and so she never actually said a word. So she just smiled at me.
And in boxing, the ego has to be important. You and our mate Eubank used to have your moments, didn't you?
Me and Chris, we were, you know, I needed him as much as he needed me. We fought at Old Trafford football ground. We had like over 47,000 people and over 18.5 million people watching this fight. But with Chris, he was like, he had joppers, monocle, and a cane. You know, and he feels like the Queen should be living in Hove and he should be living in Buckingham Palace. He was a character. But I needed him. He was He's a strong man.
But eventually life brings you to a point where you trust in Christ, and that's the turning point. And I want to come to that in just a few moments and talk more personally about that. But I'm going to stop just there and then pull on in just a few minutes. Thank you very much for that insight into not only your career, but you as a person. So before I go further, I want to introduce today's performer. Greg Cooper is the musical director at Christ Church St Ives in Sydney. He's also a guitarist and a worship band leader he has his own worship band called Garage Hymnal. And today he sings a song from his latest album of the same name. It's called Again and Again.
What good is the gain of this world if I give up my soul? Lost, but I might live for you. Let me see the cost of love to you, and let me see how much it took to save me. I won't take my cross and deny. Times I stand and the times I fall, Lord, renew me again and again. I will take my cross and deny myself. I will follow you again and again. In the times I stand and the times I fall, you are grace, Lord, again and again.
Keith Garner's new book, A Word for the World, is now available. Dealing with the 4 themes of success, sorrow, society and spirituality, the 16 sermons in this book will definitely inspire and challenge you as you read. The book also includes a DVD featuring interviews with Nick Farr-Jones, Lee Hatcher, Tanya Plibersek and Margaret Somerville. For more information on A Word for the World, please contact us on 9263 5555 or at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
And if you'd like to know more about Greg Cooper, his details are going to be online all this week. Now, Nigel, good to talk with you. You reached the age of 34, which some might say is still very young, but you come to the end of a career, move on a little bit there.
32.
But you're 32 at the end of your career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal young age, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
But you reach the point, you call it your lowest point.
Yeah.
Why?
I think, you know what it was? It was having all these materialistic things, had mansions, Bentleys, you had it all. And yet I was continued to be unfaithful to my wife. That was the main point in my life, that I just wanted to end it all, really. I thought to myself, why do I keep doing these things? And I was just addicted to sex, I was addicted to drugs, I was addicted to everything. And I couldn't break it. And I said, I would never do it again, I would never do it again. And then it just came back round again. And then I thought to myself, if this is life, I don't want to be a part of it.
Look, you lived with your pastor and his family for 12 months.
Yeah.
How important was that, and what did you get?
Well, yeah, but before you get there, you got to understand there. I can't just talk about living with my pastor. My wife was a Christian. She gave her life a long time ago, and I thought to myself, well, she's a Christian, I must be a Christian, but I wasn't a Christian. I go home and smoke a spliff. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Oh, praising him, but didn't understand about making a commitment to Jesus. And then I got to a point where I was reading scripture, and it was really just, it was saying to me, 1 John 1:5, God is light, in him there's no darkness. If we say we have fellowship with him, yet walk in darkness, we lie and do not practice the truth. So then I got to a point where I confessed like 16 years of affairs to my wife, 16 years of drug use and everything. And then she kicked me out. And I left and I went and lived with my pastor for 1 year. 1 year, me and my wife never had no communion or nothing. And the only thing that I was allowed to watch in that 1 year was Little House on the Prairie. No TV, nothing. That's the only thing I was allowed to watch. That was it. I got from session 1 right up to session 10. But that was the best part of my life. Really understanding who Jesus was. Me and my wife, we never had no communion for 1 year. But I really wanted to change the person I was. Because in Mark 8:30 it says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world?
Look, I know that you share that story today, but you're also doing, and I want to talk about this in just a moment, you're doing some very practical things, PCYC, working with young people, offering, I think, proper mentorship and trying to help them. What do you hope to do with those young people?
Why not if they're in the gym? They're not out fighting. If I know they're in the gym, they're not out drinking. If I know they're in the gym, they're not out taking drugs. And I want to be able to encourage them, to discipline them, to mentor them, to change their way of thinking and give them a positive outlook in life. Sorry. And I want them to have a vision. What are you lot doing with your life? And I think it's just encouraging the young generation now, because I think some of them, they're wayward, they're doing what they want to do. And I think if I can, give them some solid foundation and help them grow up.
Now, the picture you gave of boxing earlier in this conversation was quite of a brutal world. What can boxing actually teach young people?
Well, it taught me about discipline, self-control. It taught me a lot. It only can teach you so far. You can only go so far. And then the rest has to be Jesus. That's with me, because I had everything. And yet, like I said, I had everything, but was I happy? I wasn't.
You've described your time now in Australia with your family as perhaps the happiest time of your life.
I think it's the happiest, and it's so funny. I don't even miss Europe. I definitely don't miss the English weather anyway. So I'm very content.
It's wonderful.
It's one of the best countries. Well, I think it's the best country I've been to. I lived in Miami for 3 years, lived in LA, Spain for 11 years. But I come here and it's just been absolutely a godsend living here.
Nigel, to you and Caroline, as you carry on that ministry of sharing the good news and sharing what God can do in a family, redeemed and renewed and restored, God bless you in that work. And thanks ever so much for giving us the time and coming into the studio. So we're grateful to Nigel for that, and we wish him all the best. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's been 200 years since the first Methodists met in Australia. To celebrate 2 centuries of faith and pioneering care, CEO and presenter Rev Dr Keith Garner takes us back to where it all began.
But we don't begin here at the heart of London. We begin in a town in the north of England.
In this fascinating narrative, Rev Garner chronicles the history of the life and times of the founder of Methodism, John Wesley. This fresh and thought-provoking documentary takes us on a journey throughout the United Kingdom, beginning in John Wesley's hometown of Epworth.
John Wesley was born here on the 17th of June, 1703.
This 1-hour DVD travels onto his education years and beginnings of social justice in Oxford, to his final years in London. For more information on John Wesley, the man and his mission, call 02 9263 5555 or email us at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
At Wesley Mission, our heart is always to look at ways of encouraging and affirming children, young people and those that will follow us. We have many children waiting to be matched with a mentor in our Wesley's Aunties and Uncles programme. Let's take a look together at 1 weekend a month commitment and what it can do in helping to turn round people's lives.
Well, before Wesley Mission came along as our fairy godmother, we were in dire straits. Aunties and uncles would have closed after nearly 40 years, and probably about 5,000 children have gone through the program. So, and it's a great program because it keeps the children in the family.
I've got family, but haven't spoken to them for 20 years, and the girls needed family, and also my mum passed away only recently 4 years ago, so I needed something more for the kids. So yeah, so I sort of like Googled them on the internet and off I went. And I mean, our world now is totally different. I mean, we're reattached also with my family, so we've just got this massive family base now, which is really good, and they're beautiful people, we love them. I mean, they look forward to every visit, you know, and I mean, I suppose it gives us a break as well, and they get to enjoy different things, and I wouldn't have life any other way now. It's beautiful.
They're just great fun to be with. They're full of activity all the time. They're on the go all the time. And we really have fun.
When I first joined Aunties and Uncles, I wasn't even sure whether I'd be accepted because I was an older person and I was single, and you know, it was all about families, but I really don't think that matters. This has been an added dimension to my life, definitely. A lot of joy, absolute lot of joy. Yes, she's the niece that I don't have.
She means a lot. She's absolutely wonderful. We've been so many places and I've learned so much from her. Yeah, it does give you a lot of self-esteem and confidence, knowing that you have got someone there, and it's also another sort of moral support branch that you've got there. So, you know, in case your mum or your dad isn't there, I'm really happy that the Wesley Mission did take over it, because it's giving the opportunity to other young people and all the children and that to have another person there for them and to make them feel really special.
The Apostle Peter is encouraging these early churches to have their hope in God despite their challenges, which are challenges in the form of suffering. And this hope comes because of the resurrection of Jesus and helps to bring stability in those difficult times, either times that were or are about to be. Peter doesn't avoid the awkward theme of suffering for being a Christian. Suffering often catches us in one way or another off guard. We've heard of a box and how important that guard is, but you can be caught off guard if you get things happening to you that you just don't expect. And we certainly don't expect it, but equally, we mustn't be surprised when it occurs. Such suffering takes many, many forms. Our suffering today in modern Australia, New Zealand, Britain and America is very different from that in Peter's day. Though there were some Christians throughout the world who today would be able to immediately relate to what was happening in what was then those churches around Turkey. For us, it may be very different. It might involve verbal abuse, perhaps even discrimination. By reading this first letter from Peter, we can examine what he considered an appropriate response in his day, and from it deduce something of what might be the response that we might make. So let me read to you from 1 Peter chapter 4, and I'm going to read verses 12 through to verse 14. Dear friends, don't be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you. But rejoice insomuch as you participate in the sufferings of Christ, so that you may be overjoyed when his glory is revealed. If you are insulted because of the name of Christ, you are blessed, for the Spirit of the glory and of God rests on you. You see, at the heart of the suffering to which he refers is the fact that they were bearing it because of the name of Christ. So a number of things. We shouldn't be shocked. Do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal. Sometimes we feel that this is just unthinkable, this should happen to me. The reality is it happens to many people, and there are things happening to all kinds of people at all times. And if you belong to Jesus, if you really are a Christian disciple, don't be surprised that if you live in a world that is at sometimes the antithesis of what you believe and you want to belong to, don't be surprised if there is a degree of rejection about it. There's a degree of anger toward you. There's nothing unusual about it. We also remind ourselves in verse 12, it tells us as though something strange were happening to you. It's no good saying if suffering comes along, oh, isn't this something that's unthinkable? It's not really in the orbit of what I expect in life. Suffering takes on many, many different forms, and it isn't strange. We live in a fallen world. We live in a broken world, a fractured world, and a world in which people's hate and anger and bitterness often appears to win the day. And so often we become victims of all that's going wrong in that world. So let's not be surprised about it. And when it comes, not say it's something that's strange. But you see, recognise, just as we heard just a few minutes ago, it can be translated into something better. But rejoice insomuch as you participate in the sufferings of Christ. How can a boxer who knows what it is in his own life to have his family nearly fall apart, to be engaged in drugs and sexual activities and all kinds of things that seem to be so wrong, and yet now, through the grace of God, he's able to use all that in a new and wonderful way. It can, of course, be a source of blessing. You are blessed, for the Spirit of glory and the hand of God rests on you. You know, we have to be very sensitive as to how we respond to these challenges in our lives. We have to be ready to respond to people and use the link between joy and suffering. We've got to be sure how we tell it. We're not saying suffering's great because it makes us feel good. No, suffering hurts. Suffering can be deep, but God, through the Spirit, can come into our lives and take hold of it, transform it, and make it something fresh and new and wonderful. But we may ourselves discover this deep truth. That is our prayer.
If you would like to know more about today's topic, or for more on Keith's message, contact Keith by writing to Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A5555, Sydney South 1235, or email impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
Thanks for joining us. We leave you with John Newsom singing Heaven Opened Up. See you next week.
Every breath, every thought, every long night till now, every word, every line, every ambition till now, all lit up to you. All my prayers, all these songs, all the labor I've done, all the roads I've walked, of all the prizes I've won, none compare to you. Heaven heard this plea when I fell on broken knees. Heaven opened up and filled the holes in me, the holes I could not see. All this hope, all this joy, all this beauty I found takes the soul on a road I thought I'd never walk down, all because of you. All this love, all this truth, this gift to my soul filled up holes deep inside that I'd never have found if not for you.